I can't tell you the amount of times somebody has said, oh, I just love carbs so much. That's why I can't lose fat. Or, people genuinely will think like, it's probably because I eat so much, rice or tortillas or whatever. And they genuinely think that. And that's understandable. It's confusing. It can be overwhelming. But so I'm going to tell you like what kind of questions, how to use questions to actually help you lose fat, right? And when you think about this, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. In this case, if someone's like, well, I really like rice and tortillas, right? Maybe you have a Mexican mom or an Indian mom and she makes rice all the time, or, whatever. The question, if you get this idea in your head that maybe the rice is making you fat, maybe the tortillas are making you fat, then the next question to ask is, are there currently people who exist who eat these things who are not fat? That will get you closer to the truth and the actual answer than, you finding some video about how carbs are causing inflammation and this and that, and it's the glucose, it's the glycemic index. Like, though, when people are so forceful in what they want you to believe, and they're just stating things, they're not approaching any of this like from the standpoint of getting to the truth, meaning you got to ask questions which will guide you to the truth, right? Through observation. You got to be really careful of that. You got to be very careful and wary, because these people have an incentive for you to believe whatever it is that they're saying. So the question of, are there currently people who exist who eat these foods that I think make me fat? That will give you an answer. The answer to that is obviously yes, there are. Okay, cool. So we know, okay, now we're getting closer to the answer. We know that rice is not making us fat. Or there are people who eat rice daily who are not fat. There are people who eat tortillas daily who are not fat. So then I can ask another question, because somebody might go, oh, well, my genetics are like this. Okay. Do you know, does any person exist who has a similar background, ethnic background as you, who eats these things, who is not fat, right? And of course, the answer to that is going to be also yes. So now, you could go further, but that's enough facts right there. That's enough evidence for you to figure out, okay, well, it's not the carbs it's not the rice or the tortilla. So what could it possibly be, right? And by the way, I've been there. I used to think that carbs made me fat. Like, believe it or not, back in 2009, 2010, I was like, oh no, I don't eat bread because bread raises your estrogen and, blah, blah, blah. That was me, So I'm the purpose of this is not to like make fun of these people. The purpose is to help you get closer to what it is that you want, which is a hard, lean, capable body, right? And so if this uncertainty that comes up around, okay, well, rice, carbs, tortillas, all right, I'll give you my own evidence. I'm an Indian guy, I was skinny fat for the majority of my life, and when I figured things out, when I hired a coach back in 2012, the first thing he told me, I've told this story before, the first he said, yeah, you're gonna have 250 grams of carbs a day. And this was coming from and I still have that email. I remember, and I told him, I was like, dude, I'm just gonna tell you, I think I'm gonna get fat, but if you say so, I will do it. And lo and behold, over the next like 6 weeks, I got more ripped than I had ever been before, while eating 250 grams of carbs every day. So, I was just talking to somebody. He's like, man, Mexican guy. He's like, I really love, Mexican food. And I'm like, bro, that's okay. Like, what do you think is the problem with the Mexican food? And he's like, well, the carbs. And I'm like, I eat the same food that my mother-in-law is Mexican. I eat the same foods you do, you know? And so what makes you think that you're different than me, right? And obviously he didn't have a good answer for that, because these are just like doubts and uncertainties, and just based off of like all the crap on social media, glycemic index this, inflammation that. So then what I said was like, look, man, here's the difference. You have never weighed your food. You don't know the quantities of calories you're eating. You know nothing about calories, right? So that's the reason. That is the reason that you over consume calories in the amounts that you do, because you don't know about it. And that's all right, because that's a problem that's easy to fix. You can solve that with precision. Easy. And by the way, this guy is like, he has a very technical job. And so I'm like, dude, you do way harder shit in your job every single day than figuring out how many calories are in